Yep.
Okay. Just real quick on the Honda motor, what we recommend is the on switch on, the fuel off, the choke on, and the throttle wide open. That way at 3 a.m. you can simply come out, turn the fuel on, start it. As soon as it's running, you turn the choke off, and it's running wide open. You don't have to do anything else. Any questions about that? This black one right here is the fuel. I turned it on a minute ago. It's on right now. This is the choke. It's on. It's ready to start a cold motor. This is the throttle. It's wide open. Right here is the on-off switch. It's that easy. It's on right now. It's off there. Just keep track of seconds from you. So. Okay? I'm not going to spend time on the motor unless you guys got questions. On the pump part of it here, right here's a sight fill glass. We like it half to 2/3 full of hydraulic oil. It's obviously depends if the motor's level and stuff. That's not critical. If you're not sure, it's better to have it underfull than overfull on this. Now I'm talking the pump, not the motor now. The fluid has to splash around there to keep it cool, so if you're not sure, underfill it. If it's, I'm going to pick on Chiefs because there's Chiefs, I love picking on Chiefs. If we're all on the scene and we're doing extrication, everything's going good, everything's going perfectly, and a Chief shows up and immediately the scene goes to hell. Anybody been there?
It's going to happen.
Okay. Doesn't happen in Crestview, I'm sure, but it does in my town. If it does, and we lose some fluid in this pump, keep working. It's not going to damage the pump. Literally, we can run this part completely dry of fluid and it won't damage the pump. What will happen is, say this 30-inch ram, it has 33,000 pounds of push force. It will still have 33,000 pounds of push force, but it might only ram 20 inches. That was a stop working. This 28-inch spreader might only spread 20 inches, but it'll still have its full spreading poundage, 33,000 pounds. You see what I'm saying? So that's what low fluid will do. It's really easy. You can keep working. You're not going to damage anything. You just have to, you don't want to have a 20-inch ram instead of a 30-inch ram. You come back to the station. Right here, this chrome cap on top. Underneath it is an 11/16 nut. See the nut right under here? Okay, this hole right here is the fill hole. This is where you fill the hydraulic fluid. You guys come over and look at it. It's right here. I'm going to ask you guys to do this. This is something you guys are going to do in Crestview. This hole right here, which is normally covered with this. The scenario I said a minute ago where the Chief screwed everything up and you dump fluid on the ground, you come back to the station, you take this off, you put hydraulic fluid in here until it's halfway full on the sight glass. Okay? It's that easy. This was actually tighter, and what you just saw was tighter than it needed to be. It can really be just a snug finger tight. It's fine. Okay? That's something I am going to ask you guys to do. On the pump side of it here, these couplings are just like the ones on the back side of the hose, just like I showed you before. These are obviously not going to get near as dirty as the ones on the ground, because in theory these are never going to be on the ground. But you can still squirt some WD-40 in here and just make sure they work good. No problem at all. Same thing up here. Remember I talked about the difference from the silver and the black males? These shouldn't leak at all. If they do, give me a call if something's wrong. And this part of the pump is where most people screw up. And you're not going to hurt anything, but you're not going to get full advantage of the pump either. When this pump is running, we have a cutter here and a spreader here. You can charge both of these, and it doesn't matter what he's doing with the cutter or what you're doing with the spreader. One tool does not affect the other. Both tools can be hooked up, working as hard as they possibly can, and it doesn't affect it. In other words, say we're having problems with the spreader, it just doesn't seem to have enough strength to do it. Stopping the cutter does not change that. Okay? This pump has a really cool option if you guys ever want to use it, and this is where it's important. This is called an accelerator valve. What this does is essentially steal the fluid from one side and shunt it to the other. It doubles the amount of hydraulic fluid going through the tool. It does not change the cutting force, spreading force, or aiming force, but it doubles the speed of the tool. The way you work this, let me back up. The disadvantage to this is if this is in play, you cannot hot swap the tools. Okay, that's the big downside to it. The other thing is if you're using one side, like we'll just say, let's say this is the cutter. Let's say we want to cut the roof off right now. Turning this way does absolutely nothing, just like that. The tools have to be in neutral, and you're taking charge of the pump with this valve. So now the cutter is twice as fast as what you're used to. downside is the spreader is dead in the water. The spreader's not working at all. Okay, so if you want to cut the roof off, this is a cool toy to play with, and there's no rhyme or reason. You don't have to do it in any order, except you have to. This has to be your final product. Okay, so you can do these now. Say this pump's running, it doesn't matter. I'm not hurting anything by doing all this stuff, but the pump is not in accelerator mode right now. Oh, it is. Okay, this is where everybody screws up, is they forget to put these in neutral.
Both have to be in neutral, right? Not just one side that you're operating in?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, but the neat part is like I say we're really doing extrication, and all of a sudden the kid quit breathing. You say, get that roof off right now, and you turn it to the cutter, and you're still cutting. It's going to work fine. You just haven't done anything. You say, crap, Dean said the book could be neutral. Now you can walk over while he's cutting and do this, and you double the speed of the tool, or do them in any order. Doesn't matter.
But you can't swap.
You cannot hot swap tools. The real life scenario is you're not going to be anyway. If you're cutting in accelerator mode, you're not trying to hot swap. You're trying to get the kid out of the car right now. So play with this in the junkyard. This is almost dangerous fast. I encourage you to play with this before you use it on a scene. It's fast. I mean, you'll see the tools how fast they are in regular mode. This doubles it, and on a real life scenario, this is almost dangerous. The reason why is when we're using our tools, they work just like a motorcycle throttle. In other words, if I turn this like this, it's going real slow. Literally, I can't, but I've seen pictures with guys picking up eggs and light bulbs and stuff with the spreader because you can go so slow. So if I turn it faster, it goes faster. With this in accelerator mode, you almost can't do that. It's almost not. And where that would be important is if the B post is in on your hip. I'm not hurting you, but if I'm spreading it in accelerator mode, I'm out of control. If your hip's already broken, you're not going to be happy with it. You know, so that's when accelerator mode would not be appropriate on a real life scene. Okay? Questions on this? On the pump. We're going to play with it. We'll start it off, but ask questions if you think about it now. This is a 30-inch ram. All the tool controls I already went through. We have what's called a variable speed controller. Just if you turn it slow, it goes slow. Turn it fast, it goes faster. Especially on the cutter when you're cutting the A-post, you know how sometimes you've seen it walk into the seat where your hand's in there? If it's walking in the seat, let go where my left hand's holding here and grab it from here. And work it here, and then your fingers don't get pinched in the seat. Your glove doesn't get pinched in the seat. Everything's the same. We got the check valve, we got a relief valve in here. Any of our tools that have a hole in here, like this and the spreaders, chains, is exactly appropriate for chains and shackles, okay? So this is a single stage ram. In other words, we could extend this out 30 inches, hook a chain and shackle on it, and retract it and pull something back. The same with the spreader tips, okay? Something that I see a lot and I hate is, if you notice the spreader tip's loose, it's actually got 2 or 3 turns so it's tight. I like them loose. In Florida, we have that salt humidity, salt air, and everything rust. When you're ramming like an A-post with this has to find its own center, so it has to move a little bit like this. If you leave this wound down on there, it is going to rust in place like that, and it's going to sit just like that. So what I do is when I'm walking past your engine, I'll be just chatting with you, and I'll walk past you and see what you do is to just do that. Just make sure it's loose. It's that easy, like that. Like I say, it's a 30-inch catalog, so you can go over these numbers. Since you're not going to remember, it's a 30-inch ram with 33,000 pounds of push force. It'll ram, I'm going to say any vehicle out there, obviously not, but any average vehicle, any mom and pop, stuff like that. If you get something big and heavy, you're going to need something more, but this will do any vehicle out there. On the, I'm sorry, you can see the hole here too at this end if you need it. I'm going to leave this accessory kit with you guys. You can only use one extension, a 5 or a 10 inch. You would use this if you need length, obviously, or if you had another ram and you wanted to make, say you had a 20-inch ram and wanted to make 2 30-inch rams, one on each side or something, is when you'd use these. You can only put one extension on there from NFPA. Okay, so you can't stack the extensions. This push plate I love. And once again, it just screws on. First off, if this is rusted on the scene, you're not going to do what I'm doing now. Screw it on just like this, is that easy. I really like this. By today's cars, the dash, old cars, there was a substantial space between the A post and the dash. Now they are touching. What happens? You can't get a tip in there like this. You can't catch the A post with this a lot of times. With this on, you can ram right through the plastics of the dash, right through up the air conditioning bit and everything. You're going to lose about this much, whatever the the distance of the dash is, the plastic, but you can ram it right up through the plastic and catch nose marks. I like this push plate on there all the time, but it's up to you guys, whatever your policy is. Okay, it's something to think about and talk about for you guys, the training guys and chiefs and stuff like that. I love it. Once again, it doesn't matter how far it's screwed on, because if I'm pushing this way, if it's not on far enough, I'm going to push it on harder. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not going to pull it loose. Questions about the ram? Your cutter is 156,000 pounds of cut force.
That's
cut
it?
That's it. I don't know what you guys are using now, but I'm sure we can Google it, or I can probably look at it and guess it and stuff. But
You don't even see it.
there is, to me, to my knowledge, the baddest cutter out there is 320 pounds, so it's about twice this. And those are available. The disadvantage to badder tools like that is they're heavier and they're slower. Like, for example, the one we sell, I don't have with me, but it's about 14 pounds heavier than this, which is awkward. I mean, any of us can cut up a car with it right now, but if it's just 3 of us on a scene on an August afternoon, a 52-pound cutter gets heavy real fast, let me tell you. This is around 36, I think.
Oh yeah, that's
156,000 pounds of cutting force with 7 3/4 inch opening. A real trick when you're cutting, two things. If you're trying to cut something and it's not cutting, I don't know why it works, but it works. It just flip the cutter over. In other words, if I was cutting this tailgate like this, and it just doesn't have enough ass to cut it, flip the cutter over this way, and frequently be successful. I don't know why, but it works. Like when you're cutting a V-post or something, try that if you're having problems. Okay. There's no secrets to this. All of our tools, everywhere you see a bolt like this on here, goes completely through the tool. Keep WD-40 and stuff away from that. That's grease, and WD-40 breaks down grease where it goes away. So do not use WD-40 in those stuff. If the blades are going to rust, and they will after a while, if you want to take some of the, remember I told you the couplings will be moist, just take your finger and wipe some oil on it, and you can just wipe it on a rag like that, and it'll stop it from rusting. Just kind of wipe it.
Like a 3-in-1 oil kind of thing?
You don't have to do that. Actually, look, if you look at these couplings, there's oil on all of them right now. You just,
So just take the excess
Yeah.
oil and move it down.
yeah. I mean, you can 3-in-1 oil if you want, but try not to get it where there's grease.
I have a question.
Okay.
These are all 2 stages, right?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. And we're going to go through that. I'll put gauges on so you can see the difference. When I call this a single stage ram, that's I don't want you guys to confuse them. There is 2-stage rams and there's single stage rams, and that has nothing to do with the 2-stage motor. A lot of people get confused on that. The single stage ram simply means it's 1 shaft. That's it, you're done. The 2-stage ram is 2 shafts. The disadvantage, I like 2-stage rams, but the disadvantage is when that second stage comes up, your pushing force is cut in more than half. In other words, if this was a 2-stage ram, I said 33,000 pounds for this. If this was a 2-stage ram, that second stage might only be 12,000 or 10,000 pounds of ram force, something like that. You get extra length, but a lot less force. This is a 1-stage ram. You got 1 ram, and that's it. It's done. 2-stage motors, for you guys to understand them, it's kind of like an automatic transmission. The first stage is the speed, and ours change at 3,200 psi. So what that means is, like I was said my tailgate a minute ago, these tools will cut my tailgate in the first stage. It being so easy to cut, you won't ever get out of that. So if I had the spreader wide open, sorry for the confusion. If I had the spreader wide open and I bring it just in the air, it's never getting out of first stage. It's going to be really fast. When the second stage kicks in at 3,200 is when the tools get their strength. And once again, the speed drops considerably, but the working force goes up considerably. To give you an idea, if we hook the tool straight to this pump, it's going to go from 0 to 10.5 right through 3,200 in about a second or 2, that fast. Length of hose is what slows it down. We'll put gauges on and you'll see it's going to go from 0 to 10.5 in still a second or 2 with these 30-foot hoses. So it's going to go right through that. What'll happen is, say that this was some kind of special steel, and I'm trying to cut it, and it got to 3,200 and it wasn't cut yet, you might see the tool hesitate just for a second or 2. That's what it's doing, is it's going up. In other words, the pump is building pressure between 0 and 10.5 until it builds enough pressure to make that cutter cut this steel. That's exactly what's happening. If you see the tool stall and you let off, it goes back to 0 and you're going to start back over again. You're not going to hurt anything, but it's taking more time. Okay, you guys got that? That's how a two-stage pump works. Okay, something else that I didn't talk about on our pumps, and this is really good diagnostics for me if you're having problems. Within reason, when you have a problem, it's not with the tool, it's going to be with the pump. I mean a mechanical issue where you're calling me. And I need your help diagnosing. If we had a cutter on this side and a spreader on this side, and we're working, and the cutter just doesn't have enough strength to cut, and you know it should be, like my tailgate. If that cutter won't cut my tailgate on this side of the pump, put it neutral and put the cutter on this side. I have never seen one of our pumps with both sides fail at the same time. In other words, what just happened is this side has failed. This side is still 100%. Don't misunderstand me, that is a broken pump. But you can get the kid out of the car. You have one side that's still 100%. When it fails, it's usually in the 3, 5, 6,000 pound range, somewhere in there. So you're not going to catch it in here at the station. When you check the tools this morning, you open and close them, they work fine. You didn't know it, but there's only 3,000 PSI coming out this side, not 10.5. So that 156,000 pound cutter might only have 80,000 pounds of cut force. See what I'm saying, Chief? So if you are cutting something that you know this cutter should cut and it's not, put the cutter on this side and try it. Okay, it's that easy, and that helps me tremendously. I don't know, it's not something that fails, don't misunderstand me, this is not something that fails weekly. You guys might not ever see it, but at 3 a.m. you might too. I would say in all of Florida and Georgia there's, I don't know, 800 or 900 TNT systems, and we do 2, 3, 4 of these things a year where that happens. The downside is you're not going to catch them in the bay here. You're going to catch them in your training in the junkyard or in real life, or when we do annual services, you won't catch them. Okay, it's realistic. It could be on your engine and you wouldn't even know it's broken because it works fine when you're doing your checks. So keep that in mind. If this side of the pump does not appear to be putting out enough, try this side. Both sides do not fail, one or the other. Okay? That's important to pass on to all your brothers and sisters because you could see that. The spreader is called a super light spreader. Like I said, there's tips down here. It's 28 inches of spread, 33,000 pounds of spread force. The big mistake a lot of people make with these is, especially, do you guys have volunteers here at all?
Not in the department, not in this department, but with surrounding areas, yes.
A big mistake you'll see is when we're taking the door off, is they'll want to put the tips in the crotch of the hinge. I'm not sure, the bucket of the hinge. That's a no-no. Either spread here or here. You follow what I'm saying? You guys know what I'm talking? It probably doesn't have enough strength to do both sides of the hinge together. If you go here, it'll do it. Here, it'll do it. You'd probably do both right here or here, but don't put it in the crotch. Okay, put it here or here. That's the big secret to there. And like I say, it's 20 inches of spread. If you see these teeth on the outside, they're the same way on the inside. So when you're doing a fender crunch or something, you can go way up on it. I don't like to, I've seen people, you guys might have seen it, where they put these on the rocker panel for ram supports and stuff like that. These are aluminum arms. That's a no-no in my world. But if the kid's not breathing in the car, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? These are lifetime warranties. I ask you not to do that. You may be pissed at you want to drive up here and fix them. But you gotta get the kid out of the car, get the kid out of the car. Do what you gotta do. A trick when you're doing these, if this was a front fender and we're doing a fender crunch, we've all done this and we've closed the spreaders and it's kind of squirted off or popped off because they've all done that. If you keep this top arm as parallel to the ground as you possibly can, like this, and then bring the bottom arm up to it, that will help almost stop that almost completely. I don't know why, but if the top arm stays parallel and you're bringing this arm up, you can't always, depending on the vehicle, but if you can, that'll stop that from squirting off there. Okay? Questions on anything so far? At all? Okay. Let me catch my breath and we'll go through the rest of the page.